Greetings from Babson to the PRME community gathered at IILM in Delhi under the leadership of the wonderful Rakesh Chowdhury. Hello, Rakesh. And to all those who've joined the conversation about educating responsible business leaders. This job of educating responsible business leaders is made more difficult because of the global landscape in which we find ourselves, facing such grave challenges as climate change, political unrest and violence, poverty and inequity exacerbated by scandals in global finance, and increased migration resulting from all of the above. The question we face is what schools of business and management, and more generally, colleges and universities, regardless of discipline or focus, can contribute to transformations that would create greater balance and equity across the globe, that would improve sustainable solutions to scarce resources and negative climate impacts, and that would increase the chances that all human beings, regardless of race, caste, class, sexual orientation, political commitment, or gender, have the means to live dignified, fulfilling lives. As a professor in the liberal arts working within the context of a school of management, I have a particular take on this international landscape. Babson is a globally recognized leader in management education with a #1 ranking from U.S. News & World Report in entrepreneurship for 20 years at the graduate and 18 years at the undergraduate level. While Babson reaps the benefits of its hard work in the form of an ever more accomplished student body and the accompanying rigor and excellence in and outside the classroom, it's worth asking again and again, what are our responsibilities, both to the students we're charged with educating and to the world in which they will emerge to do their work? How can we contribute to the goals of equity, sustainability, and dignity worldwide? We found that our relationship to the PRME is a powerful way to situate our mission-specific goals. As one of the PRME champion schools, those colleges and universities around the world who've embraced a leadership role in advancing its mission, Babson has been privileged to work closely with the PRME within its larger UN context. Certainly, the 6 principles provide a vehicle to support the larger UN development goals, which are themselves in a major transition mode as the Millennium Development Goals are transformed into the Sustainable Development Goals to be launched in September 2015. The leading role of the Global Compact in advancing the SDGs indicates the commitment of business leaders to using business and commerce to reach toward equity, sustainability, and dignity. As George Kell points out in his introduction to the Global Compact Yearbook of 2014, which focuses on the development of the SDGs, the contributions of the global business community to this work of development and sustainability itself indicates major change, resulting from the creation of both the MDGs and the Global Compact 15 years ago. Before talking about a particular educational model designed to meet the challenges of the PRME principles while also addressing gender equity and women's empowerment, I want to take a moment to talk about how being a signatory to the UN PRME has impacted our work at Babson. Signing the PRME coincided with and informed a change in the mission of our college, one that has enabled all kinds of work that was already in progress to take shape now in a new and more overt form. Up until 2010, the Babson College mission statement read, "Babson College educates men and women to be entrepreneurial leaders in a rapidly changing world. We prepare them to identify opportunities and initiate action that result in genuine accomplishment." In 2011, after a process of intense reflection that included major revisions of curriculum and new co-curricular initiatives, Babson changed its mission statement, which now reads simply, "Babson College educates entrepreneurial leaders capable of creating great social and economic value everywhere." Very pithy, very memorable. You'll notice that our new mission emphasizes social and economic value, and both of these gesture toward environmental protection and sustainability. It also emphasizes a global vision, everywhere. By making visible and intentional our commitment to educating leaders who create social value in addition to economic value, we've moved away from the profit-driven model of business that dominated the global scene when Kofi Annan first inaugurated the Global Compact, and we've moved toward the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. This model embraces a simultaneous rather than sequential approach to value creation, That is, encouraging enterprises to embed social and environmental value creation and to mitigate harmful social and environmental impacts of doing business right into their business models from the beginning, rather than focusing on profits and then investing those profits in social and environmental initiatives. Our new mission gives greater visibility, legitimacy, and coherence to a great deal of work that had been going on around the college and manifests in broad curricular reform and radical new co-curricular initiatives. I'd like to use the remainder of my time to talk about how a visible commitment to the 6 principles of the PRME can be leveraged to create powerful educational opportunities for students who are looking to use business to make change. The framework I'd like to share fits within a certain institutional structure at Babson, but I hope can be adapted to other settings in meaningful ways. The pedagogical and theoretical principles upon which the work is built are interdisciplinarity, experiential learning, and cross-sector partnerships mobilized for global problem solving. My particular example will, in keeping with this session of the conference, address a case that involves gender-based violence and inequity with business solutions towards women's empowerment. But this model can be applied in many different settings for different purposes. I'll take as a foundational principle the necessity of women's empowerment around the globe. A brief survey of gender relations reveals gaps in equity that are truly planetary in scale, evidenced not just in unequal rates of education and opportunity, but more devastatingly in institutionalized violence against women that reveals a deeply rooted misogyny crossing cultures and time periods. The particular problem that this case addresses is human trafficking, sex trafficking, a complex global crime that capitalizes on economic, gender, caste, and class inequities and results in unthinkable violence, deprivation, and trauma for those who are trafficked. The basic framework within which the teaching and learning opportunities are formed is one that empowers students to experiment with business solutions to this social problem by engaging in experiential learning built on cross-sector partnerships. The particular partnerships here are less important than the principle of partnering across sectors: government, private sector business, NGO or nonprofit, and educational institution. In this particular case, I partner with the international NGO Made by Survivors, for which I serve as board chair, although such service is not necessary to this kind of partnership. We work together to offer educational opportunities for students that result in real change for the organization and its objective to empower survivors of human trafficking through employment, education, and hope. The mission of the organization is simple. We employ women and girls who've survived brothel slavery in high-wage, dignified, stable employment that will not only slavery-proof them and thereby reduce the re-trafficking rate from its current estimation at around 50%, but will also elevate their status within communities, thereby shifting long-standing gender inequities that inform high rates of domestic violence, as well as low rates of education and health care for girl children and women. In order to achieve these goals, Made by Survivors, in partnership with Babson through engaged faculty and under the auspices of our Lewis Institute Social Innovation Laboratory, has instituted what we call a prosperity model, designed to help raise the social and economic status of marginalized female populations. The Babson Made by Survivors prosperity model is built on 3 unique principles, the first of which is a commitment to the large investment required to support women who've been constrained by poverty, discrimination, and the violence of forced marriage, domestic abuse, or trafficking as they move from social and economic marginalization to holistic prosperity. For Made by Survivors, that investment takes the form of substantial, innovative college-level education in programs in entrepreneurship and design, ongoing training in job skills and human rights, and perhaps most importantly, a commitment to wages that are well above the standard low-level wage paid for handicrafts and other small-scale production in a majority of shelter home and NGO models for caring for survivors of trafficking. Indeed, Made by Survivors is currently very proudly benchmarking wages paid at its Kolkata jewelry production centers at approximately the level of a recent college graduate in India. Our second principle is a commitment to a migratory business and production model that will enable survivor artisans to retain and leverage the job training skills received during their aftercare treatment as they move back home to restart their lives. Currently, economic development programs are clustered in the destination sites where trafficking survivors are receiving their aftercare. These sites are mostly in large Indian cities such as Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Pune, which means that when survivors are repatriated to their homes in rural areas of Indian states or in neighboring countries such as Bangladesh or Nepal, all that they've gained by being part of a program such as Made by Survivors Jewelry Training Program will be lost, including those high wages that have enabled them to begin enjoying their free, independent, sustainable lives. Made by Survivors' migratory business model is revolutionary in the field and solves the problem by attending to the conditions of poverty, lack of opportunity, and discrimination in the source communities that contribute to the problem of trafficking in the first place. And our third principle is a commitment to helping to eliminate gender discrimination by providing a range of choices in livelihood, each of which comprises dignified, creative, sustainable, high-value employment within the context of the norms around gender, caste, and class of each setting. Economic development programs established by Made by Survivors are carefully constructed in order to respond and to push past gender barriers. For instance, because metalsmithing has been a traditionally male-only profession in India and quite well paid, Made by Survivors is proud to say that we have the first cohort of trained female metalsmiths in India, thereby enabling those survivor artisans to demonstrate within their communities the power and reward of breaking down traditional gender-based constraints. This model has been built across the partnership of the NGO, the college, and our corporate sponsor, Toyota. It benefits the NGO, which is able to leverage the skills of its academic partner. It benefits the academic partner, which is able to provide outstanding applied and experiential learning opportunities in real-time, global context to our students. And it benefits our corporate partner, which is able to spread its model of lean innovation farther and wider, thereby extending its reach exponentially. In Babson's case, this work is made possible through our Lewis Institute for Social Innovation, which houses the Women's Entrepreneurial Development Lab through which I'm able to conduct my work and research. It's crucial to note, however, that I was doing this work before I had institutional support, and I would certainly continue without it. Such partnerships are relatively low cost and low maintenance, grassroots, scrappy, always evolving. Part of the challenge for educators, I think, is to give up some of the control of having prepared cases and deliverables, and instead to allow students to experience the uncertainty of working with real partners in real time. To return to the pedagogies upon which I base this work, I believe that interdisciplinarity, including the liberal arts, is crucial for responsible management education. My goals are to teach students about the possibilities of social innovation, leveraging their existing skills while allowing them to see how those skills can produce real change in the lives of individuals and communities. I do all that while I deliver content about the social context and histories informing the problem at hand. In order to do this, I must expand from my disciplinary training in literature, cultural studies, and human rights to include principles of social innovation and business practice. The same can be true of management educators, just in reverse. I believe that experiential learning is crucial for students to emerge ready to operate within the uncertainties of the global landscape. I've been able to embed this partnership with Made by Survivors to provide such learning opportunities for students across the college in marketing, Salesforce management, branding, strategy, supply chain, and human rights courses. In each of these sites, students have been given a specific research project to undertake that has a clear impact on the evolution of Made by Survivors and by extension on the lives of the women and girls we employ. Students have done beta testing on websites and in product marketing campaigns, researched new business models and opportunities, explored options for expanding Made by Survivors operations into Bangladesh and Nepal, which are source sites for trafficked girls, and much more. Not only does this provide the faculty in those courses with meaningful projects through which their students can experience the power of real-time data and results with an immensely meaningful social context, but they themselves, the faculty, have found significant research opportunities that have resulted in published cases and articles because they've been able to access raw data produced by Made by Survivors experiments in social innovation. Finally, I believe in the necessity of global learning. This work situates students in complex global contexts that can increase their sensitivity to difference and their commitment to inclusion, and allows us to address intractable problems such as gender oppression and discrimination that we share across differences in culture and history. It's crucial in this part of the work that the problem of gender inequity be situated in its global context, rather than being constructed, as it often is, as a problem plaguing one part of the world, usually the developing economies, more than another. At the Global Tribunal on Accountability for Women's Human Rights held at the 1995 UN Conference on Women in Beijing, convener Charlotte Bunch from Rutgers University called the audience's attention to the pervasiveness of violence against women everywhere. She drew attention to the ways in which citizens of the United States often assign the term culture to other spaces, constructing places in Africa and Asia and Latin America as having rich cultural traditions by comparison with the US, which is perceived to be without unified or meaningful cultural traditions, the culturalist norm against which other less economically and technologically advanced societies are measured. And then she rejoined that, indeed, the US does have a deep and powerful cultural tradition. That tradition, she said, is violence. She supported this provocative claim by describing the pervasiveness of violence across US media, entertainment, and material life. And she argued that the particular prominence of violence against women is so much the essence of US culture as to be nearly invisible. The case I've shared today is an example of educating students about social innovation, the triple bottom line, and the power of business to make positive social change while also showing how business can address gender inequity. Because of its emphasis on collaboration and cross-sector partnership, it encompasses all 6 of the principles for responsible management education, but particularly principle number 3, which describes method. We will create educational frameworks, materials, processes, and environments that enable effective learning experiences for responsible leadership. I'm only sorry that I won't have the chance to learn from your feedback or to share your stories and ideas, so I invite you to contact me at egoldberg@babson.edu, and I thank you immensely for your time today. I'm wishing the entire community gathered there a wonderful new year.